right, so here we're going to have we're going to add a jQuery, actually $, init, meaning call the init function once the document loads. Right? And what do we want to do? Let's see. In our omdb API, let's just say it's going to load. It's going to say alert, welcome from jQuery, just to make sure that we have jQuery loaded. Let's see. Let's navigate to omdb, omdb.html. There it is. So welcome from jQuery. Okay, so we got this going, right? In here we're going to have h2. This will be search by movie title, and we're going to have here an input field that is going to have a placeholder Batman. Now there's no model here. Form controller. There's no model, right? What are we going to grab here? There's no Angular, right? There's no controller, right? So what we need to do is be able to identify this by some ID. Maybe this could be the ID. We'll call it maybe the search by title field. Right? We need to grab it from jQuery somehow, and we'll need a button. Here's a button. And this will be search, right? And this will be class button block, and button primary. Okay. Again, there's no ngClick here like we would do with from Angular. Instead, somehow we need to grab this from jQuery and grab a hold of it. So this is search button. Okay, so we'll call it maybe the same name, search button, search by title button. Yes? Right? So right now, obviously it doesn't do anything. Can't click it. So what we're going to do is that we're going to grab this button, and from the init, right, what we're going to do is we're going to grab that button, var, and we're going to grab it from jQuery. We need to go back to the DOM and says, "Ooh, it's that button over there," right, in the HTML. And the way we refer to things in here is by ID, is by putting a hash in front of it. Right? If you remember this is CSS syntax, right? This is the same CSS3 syntax that allows a CSS file to refer to things in the HTML, correct? Right? And that's exactly what jQuery does. It uses the same exact CSS syntax to say, hey, it's that piece of DOM over there that has that name. All right, so I have that button, and I also want the field. Oh wait, that's the field. Did I grab the field? Oops. That's the field. And let's do the same thing for the button. Button. There we go. Now we have variables that refer to them. Yes? Everybody okay? And what I'd like to be able to do is create an event handler, right, that says that I want something to happen if somebody clicks that button, right? So we can come here. It says this is the equivalent of the ngClick. It says, but it's happening all in JavaScript, right? It's all happening in JavaScript. We're saying, hey, if that button gets clicked, notice that this is a jQuery object now. This is a object that was generated by jQuery. Yes? So it's an object that now has been augmented, right? It has all sorts of really cool things that you can do with it. One of them is you can remove it. One of them is you can paint it and change its color and whatnot. One of them is you can associate event handlers on it. Okay? ngClick, what do we want to do? We want to maybe search by title. We want to call that function right there. Yes? Right? And here we could say alert, search by title. So let's see if that works. If I click here, notice that it doesn't work. Wait, what? Inspect. Oh, button, thank you. There we go. All right, thanks. And once we're there, we would like to be able to retrieve the name of the title of the movie. So we could say var movie title. We can grab it from that field. You can say field. Again, this is not a standard JavaScript object. It's now a jQuery object. It has functions such as val to retrieve the value of whatever's in that input field, so that we can now type and display the title of the movie. Right. So if we type this as some gibberish and say search, we have the data there. Yes. Ideally, we would be able to do. Now that we have the title, we should be able to just go out to IMDb and retrieve the data, right? We would like to be able to use a URL, and the URL, I forget what the URL is, but I think we have it here, don't we? There it is. I'm just going to copy that. That's the URL. And we have the title here, so we can replace avatar with the title right there with my API key that you're not going to use. And here we can do query, right? We can query right here. Same thing, we would create a service, we create something like that, right? But it's a little bit different here. Instead, I'm going to do it right here and then. So $, the jQuery object, can also be treated as an object. Can be treated as an object. So that's why I was saying, is it object function, object function? It's a function that has attributes associated with it. Right? In JavaScript, you can do that. In JavaScript, a function is just like any other object. Right? It happens to be an object that you can invoke it. Right? That it has an evaluate. It has an invoke attribute, right? That you can call it. But you can associate it with any other things, including other functions. So it's a function that can have other functions, which is pretty cool. So one of the functions is the Ajax function. And you can guess what it does, right? It can generate Ajax HTTP requests out to the network, right? You can send out HTTP requests. You can configure it by passing it a JSON object that has one of the attributes is the URL that you want to use to call, right? Another thing is that you can configure what function to call if the request is successful. Okay, and that might be we want to render movies, and you can also configure an error function. Oops, alert. Oops. There it is. So in the render function, we can have a separate render function here. In the render function, you could say render movies, and presumably this is a response that comes back from the. This is a response that comes back from the API, but there is no model.movies that I can just send it over, right, for rendering. Okay, I have all that responsibility right here. Right, the HTML is almost not doing anything. Right, we're doing all from here. I'm just going to do a console log response just to see what comes back. So let's see. Let's go back here. Let's go to the console and let's try it again. Let's refresh and do Batman search Batman, and there it is. That's what comes back from the server. I printed it out. It has 326 elements. There it is, the top 10. So this just worked just the same as well as the Angular, yes? But again, this is very, very low level. Yeah, you're working with the with the nitty gritty of the DOM. So whereas in Angular you would use the view to create the HTML for the table and the HTML for the rows and the TDs, right? You would do that on the HTML, right? And you would have a little ng repeat. Okay, that's the only thing that is different. Over here, you have to do everything, right? So you would do something like create the table. I'm going to create the table dynamically. There it is. Yeah. Maybe put a class in it. Actually, no. Now I have the table. I can now table is a jQuery object. Right? It was generated by the jQuery library, so it has functions such as add class. So you can programmatically add a class, right? Such as table. So I'm adding the class table to the field to the element table. Let me remove this alert. Then I'm going to iterate over all my movies, right? So let's do that. We'll do for var m in response dot search, right? Search is the array, so response dot search. So var movie is search sub m, right? I got the movie right there, yes? So I'll need to add a row for each movie, correct? So let's create a row for the movie. So we'll say var tr. So I'll create a tr dynamically. Tr, there it is. Yes? In that tr, I'll add the movie title. Well, no, I'll need one TD, right? I'll need one TD for every element that I want to display, right? So I'll create a TD. And that first TD, I'll append the title of the movie. So let's say I append the movie.title. I should spell it right. Append. And then once I have the TD filled in, I can append it to tr.append TD. Right? So I'm building this, node by node and appending these as I go, right? Once I have the entire tr, I only appended the title, but I could append other things, right? I can then append the entire tr to the table itself. So table.append the tr. When I come out of this loop, hopefully I'll have my entire table built with each one of the rows built, each row with one single TD. Yes? And once I have the table, I can append the entire table to the HTML. What should I append it to? I guess we could append it to the div. Right, we could append it to div. Or better yet, let's create a div here. And we'll call it ID search results. Right, and we'll append it in there. Okay, so I can go back here, and now that I have my table, I can say grab the what's it called? Search results, right, and append that entire table. See that? So let's try it. Let's see if we break this. Batman. Search. There it is. So it worked, right? So we have a table, and we have a couple of those movies. Yes? And we can certainly add more to this, right? We can append not only oops, sorry. I would need to create a brand new TD or create another TD to append something else, and then I would append. I can say TD.append. What else? The poster. So this would be movie.poster. So this is avatar. Oops. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. First, I created a TD, and I had to append each one individually. There we go, like that. There we go. So we have the first, right, the title and the URL. Title, URL, title, URL. But ideally, this would be an image, right? So let's create an image instead. So instead of having the poster, instead what we could do is create an image, var img, create an IMG, there it is. And I like to set the IMG's source attribute, right? So again, IMG is an API, right? I can manipulate all the attributes of an element. I can say, grab the attribute called source, right, and set it to movie poster. Again, an API, right? If you were using native JavaScript, you wouldn't be doing it this way, right? But again, JavaScript might be different in IE, might be different in Chrome, Safari. This gives you an API that is consistent across all browsers, right? There we go. So we have the IMG. Now that I have the IMG, I can append it here. Append the IMG to that TD. So if we do Batman, it works similar to what we did before. Okay, and here we're only scratching the surface of jQuery. Okay, this is the jQuery. All these functions that we've been using, those are all being used by Angular, right? When we do all those, ng model, curly brackets, and then we put values in there, right? All that is invoking jQuery code. Yes, that's the native implementation of Angular. Behind the scenes is using jQuery, and the abstraction is that if you do this long enough of doing jQuery implementation for a long time, you start identifying patterns, right? And you start to generalize, and the more you generalize, you come up with libraries such as Angular, right, or many other of these model view controller libraries. Right? We are abstraction animals. We love to create abstractions and abstractions, right? And until we forget what the underneath is, right? That makes sense, right? All right. So let's do the actual thing that we were asked in the assignment is, for instance, being able to do things like being able to sort things like this, right? Things that that are generated as lists, and we'll do that next.